Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the meeting of the Cabinet today, Wednesday, the 19th of March 2025. Agenda item 1 is apologies. Mr Bradbury, do we have any apologies for absence?
Good morning, Leader. I'm in receipt of 2 apologies, Councillor Parry and Councillor Price.
Could I add a third, please? Councillor DeVille? Thank you. Is he? I thought he may be on other duties. Is he coming? It's all right. In that case, no apologies from Councillor DeVille. Agenda item 2, and as if by magic, Councillor DeVille appears. For those people that can't see on the camera, it's a glowing light appeared first, and then Councillor DeVille walked through the door. It's remarkable. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest in accordance with Standing Order 16. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? Agenda item 3, decision notices of a meeting held on the 19th of February and the 5th of March 2025. Is it your wish I sign that off as a correct record of the meeting? That is unanimous. Agenda item number 3 is the leaders' update. Ladies and gentlemen, your council is probably not the first thing you wake up thinking about each morning. The reality is, though, that the council services create the fabric of life in this county and across the country. We provide hundreds of services from adoption to zebra crossings and everything in between. Over the past few weeks, an incredible amount of work has been put into developing an interim proposal for the local government reorganisation in Staffordshire. It is no secret that reorganisation is not something that we have chosen for our county. Two-tier government works for us here. Staffordshire County Council is well run, financially stable, delivering good quality services across many communities. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Nevertheless, the government has been clear that they expect to see new unitary councils replace county, district and borough councils across England, and outline proposals will be submitted to government in the next couple of days. Changes of this scale have generated significant debate, and rightly so. These are decisions that will impact the quality of council services for local people for generations to come. We believe that our preferred option, a new Staffordshire Council serving communities currently covered by the County Council and our district and borough partners, stands to generate the biggest saving for local taxpayers and the least disruption to vital services such as social care. Between now and November, we'll be testing this, seeking the views of partners and communities and scrutinising the evidence to ensure that the final proposal is in the best interests of all our communities. Despite the uncertainty, the extra work that local government reorganisation creates, our teams are steadfast in their commitment to keep delivering quality services for Staffordshire's people. Since our last full Cabinet meeting, I was pleased to hear, for example, that 92% of children have been offered their first choice secondary school for September. This doesn't just happen. It's the careful planning and work of our schools admissions team that mean this is a much higher than the regional and national average. With our commitment to invest around £50 million next year on building, extending and refurbishing our schools, our young people can look forward to some fantastic learning opportunities in the future. We continue to create the conditions for business success too, most recently launching a new way to book flexible workspaces in our 8 enterprise centres. I do look to the Deputy Leader when I say things like this because I know I'm stealing some of his thunder, and he's just getting his pen out and crossing big swathes out. Practical support like this works, and business survival rate in Staffordshire is well above the regional and national average, putting money in the pockets of our hard-working businessmen and businesswomen. Wider investments into major road improvements such as Branston Interchange, on track to complete next month, also supports economic growth, getting people and products to where they need to be. In fact, in the past few weeks, we've seen millions of pounds worth of local repairs and upgrades complete in Newcastle and Burton, starting in Leek and progressing at pace in Tamworth. Those of you on TikTok are likely to know Spudman, a popular Tamworth business owner who kindly took some infamous jacket potatoes down to some of his infamous jacket potatoes. I was infamous, that implies something wrong, doesn't it? Famous jacket potatoes down to our crew to show his appreciation for their work, and thank you to Spudman for all his help there. For those of you an older generation, making paper dolls and using old-fashioned telephones may be more your thing. These were some of the highlights of a nine-year-old Aofi's visit to Staffordshire History Centre during half-term. This was our 5,000th visitor since the new centre opened in November, and stories like this make me proud to have been able to protect Staffordshire's history and inspire young people for the future. The work of this council matters, not least because we care for some of the most vulnerable children and adults in our communities. Every team contributes to making Staffordshire a better, healthier and happier place to be. Whatever the future holds, we aim to build on strong foundations to ensure Staffordshire's people get the quality services they deserve long into the future. Agenda item 5, Staffordshire means back to business, and for the bits that I haven't stolen from you, Deputy Leader, Councillor White, we're with you.
Thank you very much, Leader. So unfortunately this month I'm not able to update Cabinet on the latest universal credit claimant counts, as they are being released tomorrow, and sadly the Office for National Statistics doesn't give me a preview. So I will look forward to providing those figures for you next month. This week is English Tourism Week, so firstly I'd like to focus on our tourism sector, which goes from strength to strength. Over recent months, I've provided updates to Cabinet on the work of our local visitor economy partnership, our tourist board, which continues to drive development and growth within the local tourism sector. And I'm pleased to say that our most recently released data, which we do have, for tourism in 2023 shows that it was the county's busiest year for visitors since the pandemic. And we have indeed bounced back to the levels that we were seeing in our tourism economy pre-pandemic. More than 37 million people visited Staffordshire, either for the day or for an overnight stay during the year of 2023. That's actually 30% up on 2019. Those visitors helped to generate more than £2.3 billion worth of revenues for Staffordshire businesses, and the sector now supports 24,000 jobs within our economy. So what a great success story for Staffordshire, and particularly good to see that bounce back from the pandemic years. Now, our tourism, hospitality and leisure businesses also play a major role on the which we celebrate with our annual tourism awards, where we can celebrate the successes and shine a light on particular businesses within those sectors. Those awards are the biggest competition of any shire county in England, again illustrating the size of our visitor economy. And this year we had 118 entries across 19 categories, with 45 businesses shortlisted within those awards. Many of those winners will go on to represent this area in the National Visit England Awards for Excellence, which takes place in June 2025. And those awards take place tomorrow, so I wish all of those businesses the very best of luck at the ceremony tomorrow evening. Last month, in my update, I mentioned the news that we had our 1 millionth backhoe loader digger rolling off the production line at JCB, and His Majesty the King visited JCB World headquarters last month as well to celebrate the company's 80th birthday celebrations. We're very proud of our champion businesses, such as JCB, and it is great to see them receiving that prominent attention from our head of state. The other thing, though, that we are particularly interested in with JCB is their use of hydrogen technologies to decarbonise the construction sector and heavy vehicles. And this is the sort of innovation activity that's taking place along the A50-A500 corridor, one of our other key topics that we discuss here. With that in mind, I was very pleased 2 weeks ago to host a roundtable discussion in the House of Commons with the support of the MP for Burton and New Toxeter, which was attended by MPs, councils and businesses, and the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Future Roads, to discuss the opportunities that corridor represents. We have a small ask of government, ladies and gentlemen, which is £3 million of investment to help develop the detailed plans for economic growth along that corridor, and the transport schemes that are needed to unlock that growth. Now, that £3 million, if those projects are developed and then adopted, could see a growth of 10% in the economy of the entire North Midlands. So not just along that corridor, but stretching up as far as the outskirts of Manchester, Sheffield and down to Birmingham, 10% growth in that economy. It is truly huge. So it's good that we're getting airtime in Parliament with support from Cheshire East all the way across to North West Leicestershire for that. Let's hope the money comes with it as well. Linking our friends at JCB and our visitor economy, the other thing that I will highlight is the success of our Live Golf tournament held at JCB's Golf and Country Club for the first time last year, which is confirmed now to be returning to the county in July. Last summer's tournament, we now know, exceeded all expectations, with over 37,000 fans attending over the 3 days of the event and generating significant benefits for the Staffordshire economy, making it the most successful Live Golf event in the UK. We're very excited to see the event returning again this summer, and we expect that it will be even bigger and even better this time around. Now, supporting businesses to start up, grow and invest in Staffordshire remains one of our top priorities, and we know that access to finance is one of the biggest issues that those businesses face. So that's why last month we held our Staffordshire Funding Festival, the largest funding event ever held in the area, which provided the opportunity to bring local businesses, support organisations and investors together. The event attracted over 200 delegates from businesses across the area, and we're planning to hold that event again in 2026. Finally, this month, I want to mention the continued efforts of the County Council and our partners in reducing carbon emissions and the impacts of climate change that businesses generate. The County Council continues to deliver energy assessments and grants on behalf of the Department for Energy, Security and Net Zero for our Green Solutions programme, which delivers energy efficient assessments and grant funding to small and medium-sized businesses across Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. This is a new scheme, and we're just at the end of the pilot phase for it. And I'm very pleased to say that the participants in that pilot programme found that 86% of them would not have been able to deliver energy efficiency savings without the Green Loan Fund that was unlocked through this programme. So we're looking forward to that being mainstreamed now into a rolling programme over the next few years. With that, Leader, I'll hand back to you. There's rather a lot in that report today, quite a mix, but again, it shows the range of work that we do here at the County Council supporting our businesses.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 6, Climate Change Action Plan 25 to 30, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. As this is the last climate change item that is coming to Cabinet in this term, I'm proud to share the remarkable progress that Staffordshire County Council and our citizens and our staff and everybody that is involved in making Staffordshire more sustainable on this journey that we've embarked upon. For a staged, sensible approach to reaching where we want to be is that net zero target of 2050. Over the last 4 years, this has achieved so far a significant 52% reduction of those emissions. This milestone is a testament to our collective efforts and the effectiveness of our Climate Change Action Plan, which we've got an update before us this evening, which is today, that is now in its 5th year. But just some of the highlights over the last 4 years. I think we have successfully, with the help of our staff, with every cabinet member being a lead on climate change in their area, as I say, reduced our emissions by 52%, saving down to 24 tonnes of CO2. And in our highways, in libraries, in household waste recycling service, switching to hydrogenated vegetable oil, resulting in a saving of 250 tonnes of CO2. Rolling out electric vehicles in health care fleet and records offices, and even the chairman's car has gone electric during the last 4 years. Our efforts to reduce energy consumption in our corporate buildings have also paid off with a 10% reduction in gas use and a 4% reduction in electricity use. And the launch of the Zero Waste Cluster in 2024 has further highlighted our commitment to sustainability along with our partners in the Sustainability Board. And that's been one of the key things over the last 4 years, as well as our partnership with our neighbouring districts, boroughs and the city through the Staffordshire Sustainability Board, working on joint goals, including a move to zero waste, to energy efficiency, and also energy planning as well, and also a comprehensive climate change adaptation strategy, much of which is included in our updated action plan as we go forward. And this allows us to work together to have resilient services for our community in the face of a changing climate. And externally, we've really stepped up on our communications to our residents to help that change that they have to take place to help us to get to 2050 target of net zero. And we've all heard about the carbon bubble campaign. Over 11,000 residents were involved in the consultation around that encompassed the carbon bubble when it went to Staffordshire, when it went to all of our town centres. It was really a visible sign of people, of the action they could take to reduce their carbon emissions. The Dream House tour, which is still going on, has been travelling across the county, providing residents with practical advice on how to save money and reduce their carbon impact in their home, what they can do to help us to go to get to our target of 2050. And also our sustainability newsletter that goes out. Over 3,000 subscribers, keeping communities informed about the current opportunities to make Staffordshire more sustainable, and the monthly updates on and based around campaigns that the comms team are running. And that is signed up to by all our boroughs and district councils as well, who spread that message out there of sustainability that helps us to get to where we want to go. Also, the Climate Change Action Fund, of course, has been running for the past 5 years now, and we've seen supported £250,000 worth of funding. And notable projects have been Heart in Hands, 250 for food bank equipment, Checkley Cricket Club, 690 on EV charge points, Dane Valley Climate Change Action Group for tree guards and stakes, Belgrave Community Allotment and Gardens for a off-grid PV system, Lichfield Sports Club at 2,900 on solar installations, Biddulph Youth and Community Zone, 3,000 on solar installations, Wombourne Parish Council, £5,000 for solar installations, and Christchurch School Association, over 3,000 for outdoor classroom and PV and rainwater harvesting. And you can see there, just on those few bullet points there, the spread across the county of the Climate Change Action Fund. And those projects demonstrate the impactful ways we are addressing climate change at a local level, including our local communities, getting real results and spreading that message of sustainability. Now, before us today, this morning, we've got an annual revision of our Climate Change Action Fund to ensure that our actions remain sensible, ambitious and aligned with that net zero target. However, we must acknowledge that even with global emissions cut, our local climate continues to be impacted. And it's crucial that we make our services resilient and our communities resilient to these changes. So today I'm asking fellow Cabinet members to endorse our refreshed Climate Change Action Plan, which not only builds on our work towards net zero, but also introduce new actions to enhance climate change resilience. And the plan is designed to ensure that Staffordshire can thrive in the face of future climate challenges. And we all see that in the weather, which we see now, in the destruction of our roads because of all of the rain and also the flooding that is affecting our residents. We recognise that reducing emissions alone is not enough, and this update plans to broaden the scope of our plan with a strong focus on climate resilience. We're preparing for the inevitable changes in our climate, which are already happening, including those hotter, drier summers. We haven't seen many of those, but we've certainly seen the milder, wetter winters and the more frequent extreme weather events, such as mini tornadoes. Up in my part of the world in Newcastle, we've experienced 3 in the last year or so, mini tornadoes that have affected Kidsgrove, Nutton, and also parts of Woolstanton as well. So the report covers key things of building climate change resilience through our climate change risk assessment, utilising the UK and West Midlands climate change risk assessment as a baseline for us to work forward on, and has identified 55 key risks specific to Staffordshire, which are included in the plan. The revised plan now encompasses 81 actions across directorships addressing both mitigation and adaptation. So my mission, Leader, over the last 4 years has been to make Staffordshire more sustainable. That's the remit you gave me 4 years ago. And this ambitious update builds on the plans and on the delivery of that which we've done so far from our previous achievements. And I'm going to say again, a sensible approach. I think we see now from the government, and particularly I think the Secretary of State, almost zealous approach to this. I think what we need to do, and we've always done here, is take people along with us in a staged approach, and this update of our Climate Change Action Plan does that. So together with our communities, we can work towards that goal, which is to enhance our natural environment, cut our carbon emissions, but also adapt to the changing climate which we see every year, and it seems to get every winter gets wetter. And I just hope that summers would get a bit warmer, but they don't, do they? But I think challenges are ahead, but I think this updated plan sets us fair to be able to mitigate some of those, adapt to those, so we can work together with our communities to achieve where we want to go ultimately, which is our 2050 target to get to net zero. I will move the recommendations in a bit, but open to comments and questions on the report.
Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, Chairman, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Tagg, for an excellent report. Thanks for that. And thank you also for the relentless work that you've done over the past years on this really, really important matter, Mr Tagg. Very, very quickly, the Local Climate Change Fund, I don't think we can in any way exaggerate the importance of that, you know. And in my area, you did mention, Mr Tagg, the small amount of money that Checkley Cricket Club received. And it is a small amount, but that amount of money was really, really well received and was really, really important in helping Checkley Cricket Club and their future sustainability plans. So, you know, small amounts of money can really help small organisations, local organisations, to achieve the big picture, can't they? Thanks very much again, Mr Tagg.
No one else is indicating, so Councillor Tagg, if you could just give us the recommendations, please.
Thank you, Chair. Not a tongue-twisting recommendation this time, which usually I get in my recommendations, but A, approve the revised climate change action plan, which lists key climate change mitigations and adaptation actions for the next 5-year period, 25 to 30. Note the climate change risk assessment included within the action plan, which considers the key climate change risks that could impact the council, obviously the county and our residents. I move those recommendations.
Still a tongue twister though, Councillor Tagg, with the alliteration there struggling to get out. You've heard the recommendations. All those in favour? Agreed. That is approved. Moving on then to agenda item number 7 is the Highways and Transport Capital Programme, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways, Councillor DeVille.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Of course, colleagues, good roads are essential to us all. This council, we absolutely understand the importance of our highways to our Staffordshire taxpayers. The extra money that we invested last year was money well spent. And that money, Chairman, has really paid dividends as we come out of probably the wettest winter in record, certainly one of them. We're in a good position now to, again, this year, fix more roads with the same urgency and the same focus as last year's recovery plan. This additional money, Chairman, that we're investing means that we're able to build on last year's successful programme to fix more roads and to really make a difference to our road users and to all our Staffordshire taxpayers. So, colleagues, fixing more roads is a top priority for Staffordshire County Council. That's why this council is continuing our plans, and this year planning to invest an extra £60 million. Yes, £60 million on our roads. That's on top of the government grant for local roads maintenance. So a tremendous example of an organisation, a local authority, a county authority, putting the money where their mouths are. It's not just about fixing roads though, Chairman. All the really important improvements that improve our local road safety, ease congestion and enable economic growth in all of our areas are our priorities, our key priorities. But I think at the top of our priority list is the safety of our Staffordshire taxpayers. Therefore, I'm delighted, Chairman, to present this report to Cabinet today. The report sets out our investment proposals over the next 12 months, and the investments are made up of £10.5 million investment to deliver 13 major structural maintenance and resurfacing schemes. Over £20 million to provide 471 roads across the county with best value preventative maintenance treatments, with a further 1.9, importantly 1.9 million for the treatment of our footways. So these treatments not only present us with better surfaces to walk and drive on, but they also vastly increase the longevity of our highways asset. A further £11 million to repair an additional 14,000 existing potholes and defects. And that is on top of the amazing 36,000 potholes that repaired in the last 12 months. Colleagues, a really important area of work is our integrated transport improvements. Integrated transport improvements mean the really important projects in our localities that improve road safety. These projects are massively important. They're important local schemes that have a real bearing on local road safety. There's a long list of safety improvement projects in Appendix B, but if I can just pick out three, just as three examples. A 40 mile per hour speed reduction in Hanchurch. That obviously is very, very well received by the residents of Hanchurch. The introduction of a 30 mile per hour scheme through the Blythe near to Doxey. The local member and the parish council have campaigned vigorously for this for some considerable time. Sadly, there have been some fatalities at this location. So this scheme, the speed reduction scheme, is massively welcomed by everyone in this area. And I'm delighted, Chairman, to see the provision of a pedestrian crossing in Upper Tean. This crossing will provide road safety improvements, particularly and importantly, improvements to children's road safety, whilst children are walking to and from our two local primary schools, St Thomas's and Greatwood. So that is well received in the Tean and surrounding area. There's a long list of improvements, colleagues, but I thought it useful that I just pulled out those three. So I'm delighted to bring this proposal today to Cabinet colleagues. I have three recommendations to read out, Chairman, but I'll take any questions beforehand if required.
Councillor Pert.
Thank you and good morning, colleagues. Not really a question. I actually welcome this additional investment and the report, but particularly welcome the work that has gone into trying to prioritise those areas that need this funding the most. Never an easy job with such a large rural council. And roads affect most of our residents. Actually, that's where they see the council's activity, rightly or wrongly. And I can't remember what the percentage of spend that goes out of the total budget on highways. So, you know, it's probably 7 or 11% or something. It's massively low. So actually making every penny that's spent count is really important. And the fact that the county is one of the largest users, providers of preventative maintenance surface dressing, I think is a really good demonstration that there is a long-term point where we will come out of this, where everyone can point to a pothole. But I really appreciate the extra funding that's gone into this, notwithstanding that the Hanchurch scheme that you mentioned, where equally there have been a couple of fatalities, but equally an accident every month, a serious accident every month, and there's an end-to-end cost to that, because the end-to-end cost is not just in terms of individuals, but also in terms of emergency services, in terms of health services, because some of those have been really serious accidents. So I really appreciate this focus, this relentless focus on safety, also on flooding, but also on making sure our roads, our rural roads, are the best they possibly can be.
Councillor White.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Mr. DeVille, for that excellent report. There's a lot in here, and there's a lot of benefit around the whole county. And I will, if you'll forgive me for a moment, just say a brief thank you on behalf of my residents in Rolston-on-Dove for the very welcome road safety scheme that's going to be introduced on Knowles Hill there. Thankfully, we've had no fatalities in that location, but I think the householders at number 1 Knowles Hill will be really pleased that there may be fewer cars parked in their hedge over the coming years as a result of this, and the parents of children walking to school along that route will be very glad too. I was just interested in the funding breakdown in the report, and particularly the funding from central government, because the Network North allocation to Staffordshire County Council disappears after the next financial year, and it's rather disappointing to see that the funding that was allocated under the previous government, which would have, I think, seen us having an average of £30 million extra per year coming into our highways budget, has disappeared. I'd be interested to hear your comments about what we might be able to do if that funding were restored to us. But other than that, it's a very welcome report. Thank you very much. It's good to see that we're investing where our residents want us to invest.
Councillor Tagg.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, welcome this report and also the comments that were made by previous Cabinet members. And I think, you know, that investment we've seen in some of the road resurfacing that's taken place across Newcastle Borough particularly, where I'm from, but also we see that the weather impact, and there's quite a good section in this report on the climate change implications. I think the last bit about looking at ways we can possibly design, improve our roads to take account of the heavier rain and the and all the things that leads to, or if it's colder weather, the grit and the salt affecting the road multiple times that it's laid down to grit the roads. I think that's something we really must sort of invest time and probably money into that, because I think if we can make the road surface more resilient, it will last longer. And we see it in many countries across the world where they have much warmer climates or they have colder climates, that the roads seem to be more resilient. So I think we need to learn, and it's really a plea to the Cabinet members to try and learn internationally on how people manage their roads in different extreme weathers conditions, which we are experiencing more of. But I think on the main body of the report about climate change implications, it does make reference to the report we just agreed, Chair, and that obviously there are a number of measures within this that fit into our new climate change action plan, and that more resilient approach to the way we approach highways is welcome. I think something we can take forward, but I'll just make the point of that more resilient road surface and the way we create roads to make them better for the future with whatever the weather may throw at them.
Councillor DeVille, if you could sum up and then give us the recommendations, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I will, and thank you for those comments, colleagues. To Councillor Pert, you're exactly right, Councillor Pert. It's almost an inversion of the Pareto rule, isn't it? 90% of our, probably more than 90% of our Staffordshire taxpayers use our roads, but there's probably 10% of the overall council funding that actually go on roads. So it is absolutely essential. My officers will know only too well that we look at every penny we spend and ensure that every penny we spent gives us very, very best value for money. And to Councillor White's point, you are entirely right. The Network North money would have put us in a completely different place with regard to the funding of the works on maintenance, on structural schemes, etc. This funding was indeed pledged by the previous government, and it saddens me that that money's been taken away. So what do? We don't bury our head in the sand. We'll continue lobbying, Councillor White. We'll absolutely continue lobbying the government for additional funding, and we'll continue doing the things that we do best, getting the work done, getting on with maintaining our roads, and getting on with doing it at best value to the Staffordshire taxpayer. So we will constantly lobby. And also, colleagues, I will remain relentless on road safety, and I'll remain relentless particularly on children's road safety. So thank you all very much for your comments. Chairman, I have 3 recommendations, please. Firstly, that Cabinet considers the report and approves the Highways and Transport Capital Investment proposal as set out in the supporting appendices, noting that at the time of writing, the allocations from the Department of Transport have not been provided for integrated transport. Secondly, to approve the progression of the programme of developer funding S278/S111 highway improvement projects, and delegates the authority to the Director of Economy, Infrastructure and Skills to agree the details of the works agreements and authorise the contracts for works to be entered into. And thirdly, Chairman, the Assistant Director for Highways and the Built County monitors progress of the overall programme and has given delegated authority to make any in-year alterations and additions to the programme in consultation with myself, the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways. So 3 recommendations there, Chairman.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Agreed.
That is agreed. Agenda item number 8, Doxey Road, Stafford, Levelling Up Fund update with Councillor White, the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills.
Thank you very much, Leader. Another very welcome item regarding a really significant investment in our county town and in the regeneration provision of housing and provision of further employment land within the county town. So the Doxey Road site, for those that aren't familiar with it, forms part of the Stafford Gateway regeneration project, which sits in between Stafford Railway Station and the Stafford Western Access Route, key piece of roads infrastructure that the County Council delivered for the town several years ago. So this site was acquired by the County Council as part of those works, but it's land that wasn't required for the completion of the project. It is former industrial land, heavily contaminated. There were lots of rather unpleasant chemicals used on the site, and so in order for it to be redeveloped, it requires significant remediation to make sure that it's safe for future occupation. As is our practice here at the County Council, we've been working for a number of years to develop a proposition to receive funding for that work to go ahead. It's not commercially viable for the private sector to do it. And we've been working in conjunction with our colleagues at Stafford Borough Council to secure funding for this work to be done. We placed an application into the previous government's Levelling Up Fund programme, and I'm very pleased to say that the proposal for this site received approval for the third and final iteration of the Levelling Up Fund. It was approved under the previous government and then reapproved by the new government, so thank you very much to both for doing that. Our part in this process is a supporting part. The accountable body for the work for the funding that will pay for the work that we'll do to remediate the site is Stafford Borough Council. So this report is to ask this council to agree to enter into a funding agreement with Stafford Borough Council so that we can receive the monies from them to do the work. With that, I'll pause to allow any questions, and then I can carry on to the recommendations when you're ready, Chair.
Very welcome to Councillor Pert.
Thank you. Absolutely welcome this report, and I'll frame my question first and then provide some additional detail. My question is, when do you think realistically we'll see some of the benefits that from this investment in remediating the land? The reason I ask this question is this site is adjacent to the county town. It's walking distance to the county town, and without public investment to remediate the site, it will never come forward as anything else but redundant industrial land. It is sustainable by train because it's right by the train station. And with some of the other investments that are going on in the county town and in the county's economy, it allows people to get and use the West Coast Main Line into London, into Birmingham, into Manchester. I won't name every town I can think of on a train station, you'll be pleased to know. But equally it underpins the town centre regeneration. And there's employment land off the back of this. And with the investment in education, with the Institute of Technology, we'll see other embryonic businesses coming into the county, and particularly into the county town because of this. So, all of this is great news, and I really welcome the investment. And in some ways, I can't wait to see the benefits of the investment, hence the question.
Okay. Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Purton. I mean, you've eloquently illustrated how well placed this site is, both within the town, but also in terms of the links that it can easily access. And so for the people who will ultimately live there in the housing, and for the businesses that will occupy the 30,000 square feet of employment land, it really is well placed. In terms of the work to get all of that underway, the first stage of that is a design stage. For the type of remediation work we're talking about, you can't do guesswork. You have to do detailed work to plan how you make the site safe. That work's envisaged to be completed by November of this year. And then once that work is complete, we can finalise the evaluation of tenders to actually complete the work. We need to know exactly what the work is before we agree to who's going to do it. That should be completed by this time next year, and then work will get underway straight away after that. These things don't happen in a blink of an eye, but we are working at pace to go through that detailed safety-driven work to get this site to where it needs to be so it can be developed.
To the recommendations, please.
Okay, thank you. To the recommendations, I'll just scroll to them on my screen. So I recommend that Cabinet A, note the progress being made on the Doxey Road project and the award of levelling up funding by government. B, give approval for Staffordshire County Council to enter into a funding agreement with Stafford Borough Council as the accountable financial body for the levelling up fund funding. C, delegate authority to the Director for Economy, Infrastructure and Skills, Director for Corporate Services and Director of Finance, in consultation with the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, to agree the terms of and enter into the funding agreement for the Doxey Road project. And finally, D, note that further updates will be provided to Cabinet as the delivery and construction programme of the Doxey Road site are confirmed. I so move.
You've heard the recommendations. All those in favour? Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is the Apprenticeship Strategy 2025. When strategies are tabled, I think people watching this might think, why are they doing it? It's just another document. So I think what I'm going to do by way of introduction for this before the recommendations is just explain the why, because it is vitally important that people do understand the why in order to support the effort that we're putting towards creation of the strategy, because it will make a difference. We've created the strategy to demonstrate our commitment to providing an excellent apprenticeship offer across Staffordshire County Council. Adopting an apprenticeship-first approach means that considering whether an apprenticeship could be used to fill a vacant role, a skills gap, leaver cover or project support before looking at other options. As with many local authorities, an ageing workforce continues to be a challenge for us, and as colleagues retire, we risk losing key expertise and skills from the organisation. Apprenticeships allow us to bring early talent and new skills to the organisation. Equally, they offer great opportunities to existing staff to develop, gain qualifications and further their career, strengthening our ability to meet the needs of people of Staffordshire. So what will the strategy do? It'll help us to first address challenges around recruitment, training, retention, succession planning, leave cover and project support. Attract younger people to join us. Recruit critical, hard-to-fill roles. Give our colleagues more opportunities to grow, learn and develop. Give a wider range of opportunities to priority groups like care leavers, vital to our overall offer. Give leaders and managers the confidence, skills and ambitions to recruit diverse talents from right across our communities. To make sure our apprentices have high quality experience and are empowered to thrive and complete their programmes successfully. And completion is one of the areas that we're particularly keen that we improve upon. Promote a learning culture that embraces change, be a more inclusive employer representative of our communities, make best use of our apprenticeship funding and support Staffordshire's strategic ambitions. So that is the reason why we have the strategy. It is well worth a look. My second son benefited from a 3-year apprenticeship in which he thrived and has now got secure employment in engineering. And I can tell you, as a foundation for a career, it is certainly an excellent alternative to going to university for those that perhaps aren't interested in going to university or would like to seek a different route. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for that. And can I add my weight behind how much I welcome this, and it's fantastic that we're looking to provide an opportunity for young people across the county through this apprenticeship scheme. I just want to make particular note to one of the actions in there, one of the phase 2 short-term actions, and that's to develop the Staffordshire Care Leaver apprenticeship offer, and create an annual apprenticeship plan as part of our rolling commitment to this and our ongoing commitment to care leavers in the county.
Councillor Pert.
Thank you. I welcome the strategy and associate myself with the comments of Councillor Sutton. What I've been amazed at when I've been around the adult social care workforce, and a significant number of the workforce are under a Section 75 agreement with Midlands Partnership Foundation Trust, is the sheer volume of people who are taking on ongoing continuous professional development, and some of those are apprenticeships and some of those are other courses, and I think it's really important that we try and develop where we know we have skills gaps, where we know we have recruitment gaps, those people who can come forward and take on those spaces. And I particularly welcome the work that our partners do in this space, as well as the work that we're doing in this space, because I think it's really important to ensure that we have the most rewarding jobs and career prospects for people, so that some careers that seem as if they don't get the same priority and recognition as others are actually seen on a par and a parallel plane. And at the same stage, I think it's really important to ensure that we can support our residents in the best way possible going forwards.
Councillor White.
Thank you very much, Leader. It's nice to see your report against this name as the previous portfolio holder for HR. I was really glad to be able to delegate this one up to you, because it's a really tough challenge. We as an organisation have a responsibility for delivering services that support skills, and we work really well with our excellent training providers, colleges, universities, and with businesses to promote apprenticeships along with other routes to gaining skills for employment. And apprenticeships are only one of those routes, but an enormously important one. It is therefore in our nature that we have a focus on apprenticeships, and we don't need a push in the back to do that. And I think this paper demonstrates that. It's an excellent approach to ensuring that as an organisation we're bringing in apprentices wherever the needs of the business dictate that, and making it really easy to do that with a lot of encouragement. What I think would be even more helpful though is if the government looked at the apprenticeship levy, which is mentioned a great deal in this report. So this, for those who are not familiar with it, is effectively a tax that government takes from organisations, which they can avoid if they invest money in training apprentices, but if not, it's money that goes to the Treasury. And the rules that surround this are quite complex. It's quite difficult to use the money. Even organisations such as ours struggle to do so, and therefore a lot of it just becomes a tax. Now, wouldn't it be a good idea, in the new world of devolution that we're entering into, if that money that isn't spent by businesses or by organisations such as ours was devolved to mayors in strategic authorities to spend on skills in their local area, keeping that money that local employers have provided for skills training but may not be able to use themselves in their local economy. It's just a thought. This is a wonderful paper, but there is a lot more that we could do locally with properly devolved skills funding, and there's quite a large amount of money there every year that disappears into the ether, into the Treasury, that I think it would be awfully nice if we kept locally. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor DeVille.
Thank you, Chairman. And I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague, Councillor Pert, with his comments. I warmly welcome this report, Chairman. I'm a very strong advocate for apprentices and apprentice schemes, and I really appreciate the focus that we have on apprentice schemes. Apprenticeships are a really positive alternative to a university course or university course of study. Not unlike you, Chairman, my son served an apprenticeship at JCB. He's now working over in the USA plant over in Savannah. So not only is a good apprenticeship scheme a means of developing skills for an individual. It's also a really, really important means for people's career progression and development of future progression within an organisation. So it just about, as the Deputy Leader said, just about a good apprentice scheme just about ticks every box, doesn't it?
Thank you. Nobody else is indicating. I would just like to note that my visits to the children's departments, when I've been round to the district localities to see apprentices working there, they've got their graduate level, they're learning the trade, and they're doing it with as part of an apprenticeship is absolutely fantastic. So it's at all levels. So it's about creating an organisation that has strength and depth, so that we create the succession planning for the future. Because as we get older and we look to our successors, those people who are coming up behind us, we want to know and want to be confident that they understand how we operate. They're inculcated with the ethos that makes us successful, and it gives future leaders choices about who is best to lead the organisation in due course. The enthusiasm that the apprentices have for their roles cannot be underestimated. You can't buy enthusiasm. You can see a CV with a list of qualifications, but the thing that sets many of the apprentices apart is the sheer enthusiasm they have for their role, because they're learning on the job, they're getting better at what they do, and they're getting paid for it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 recommendations. I recommend that Cabinet note the success... before I do the recommendations, can I also thank the teams for all the hard work that's gone into this? It has been absolutely tremendous. And it doesn't happen in isolation, so thank you. 2 recommendations, to note the success to date of the Council's current apprenticeship programme, and then also to approve the proposed apprenticeship strategy for Staffordshire County Council. All those in favour? Agreed. It is agreed. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 10, recommissioning of supported living care services, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Pert.
Thank you, Leader. Colleagues will remember that we brought before you in December the Housing with Care strategy, and this is the first iteration that comes from that strategy. Colleagues will remember also that we provide support and care for about 700 of our most vulnerable residents across the county through about 100 care providers, both in county and out of county. And these are slightly different relationships because it is supported living for people with disability, autistic people, and people with mental health conditions. And it is about providing with greater independence whilst providing the care and support that they need. There is a long-term relationship with these people because unlike those who are over 65, they are generally in long-term need of our support and care. So as a result, we have been reviewing our supported living arrangements to ensure that they enable us to provide good quality, strengths-based care that promotes independence. And as part of that, we have been trying to address a number of issues which are outlined in the accompanying paperwork. But a couple of those issues include increased complexity of need. Also, the current procurement process doesn't necessarily encourage the greatest quality of bids that are person-centric. And equally, we want to foster and encourage an opportunity for individuals to move to greater independence. So as a result, we have been reviewing how we procure current placements, which has been principally through currently to date a dynamic purchasing system. And going forwards, we want to move to a new system. As part of that move, we've engaged with significant consultation. There was a period of consultation between August and October last year, which included providers, carers, the individuals themselves, obviously, family, landlords, a variety of providers, so that we could engage the market and engage with all of the relevant stakeholders, including some of the most seldom heard voices, to ensure that the new procurement framework that we were looking to adopt was the most appropriate. So going forwards, In terms of recommissioning, we want to extend the current dynamic purchasing system for another year to allow us time to bring forward a new framework. And in terms of that new framework, we want to move to a framework with 2 lots, a standard lot which will encompass the vast majority of individuals, and a complex needs lot. And as part of that, we want to procure that framework during the summer of this year with an implementation date of spring 2026. And for the record, in terms of budgetary spend in this area, it is north of £40 million a year that we spend on supporting the needs of this very important group of people. Happy to take any questions that people may have.
Councillor Pert, nobody's indicating, so it's straight to the recommendations, please.
Can I be contentious and ask if you'd like me to read all 8 of the recommendations word for word? I'm happy to do so.
You can say you move the recommendations as set out in the report.
Can I move the Thank you for the advice. It proves that, no matter how old you get, that an old dog can learn new tricks, so thank you. Can I move the recommendations as set out in the report?
All those in favour of the recommendations that Councillor Pert can't be bothered to read? Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed. That is unanimous. Nothing like supportive leadership, I think you'll find, is there? Right. Next item is decisions taken by Cabinet members under delegated powers. There is just one, which is from the Cabinet member for Education and Send, in approving a reduction in the proposed lease term from 10 to 7 years of Staffordshire Place 2 to Walton Hall Academy, Shore Trust Education Trust, for the provision of post-16 education. Agenda item 12 is the forward plan of key decisions. All these in April. In public, Community Learning Accountability Statement 25-26, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. In April, Connect to Work, brought to you by the Deputy Leader of the Council and Cabinet Member for Economy and Skills, Councillor White. Framework Agreement for the provision of the supply and installation of new and repair of existing fences and associated services. Councillor Parry doing a fence repairing contract. There we go. Got quite a few to do over the years. Brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources, Councillor Parry. And Councillor DeVille, it must be a great tragedy to you not to have to take these through anymore now you're no longer Cabinet Member for Commercial. In private, Staffordshire Warmer Homes approval of the spend plans for the Warmer Homes local grant, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change, Councillor Tagg, in collaboration with the Cabinet Member for Health and Care, Councillor Pert. In April, in private, unregulated placement update, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People, Councillor Sutton. Moving forward to June, in public, framework for food waste disposal, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Environment, Infrastructure and Climate Change. Traffic and Network Management Plan, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Strategic Highways. And in private, sale of surplus land at Hoon Avenue, Newcastle-under-Lyme, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Finance and Resources. And then an unregulated placement update in July in private, brought to you by the Cabinet Member for Children and Young People. That concludes the forward plan. Before we go and go into public, can I just, from the Chair, put a note of thanks to John Tradewell. John, it's your last Cabinet meeting, and I know I can see a big roly-poly tear gathering on your cheek, but you go to retirement, and I would like to say on behalf of Staffordshire County Council and the people of Staffordshire, thank you very much indeed for everything you've done. It's been a long and distinguished career that you've had here in Staffordshire. I wish you the very, very best in retirement. I hope you take the opportunity to have a break for starters, and then enjoy the time that you have with Alison, making the most of your retirement and exploring new things and having time to just think about life, the universe and everything. I'm going to sort of break with slight precedent and just hand over to you just briefly, if that's okay.
Yeah, just to say thank you very much. Been an absolute pleasure working here. I've just got over 18 years now, the best 18 years of my career. Great council, great people, great members, great officers. Enjoyed every minute of it, and just thank you for the opportunity. And don't worry, I will enjoy my retirement.
I think the... I think it's quite a thing to come to the end of a long and distinguished career, and wow, thank you. I now move to exclusion of the public. I move that the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business which involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in the paragraphs of Part 1 of Schedule 12A as amended of the Local Government Act 1972 indicated below. I move.